if you can imagine this, the man begins to walk towards the house. He goes into the house, begins to walk through the hallway. When he enters the kitchen, the camera stays in the hallway when the lights suddenly turn off. It then goes to an over-the-shoulder shot of a man looking out the front of his kitchen window, and he sees a small child in a mask staring back on the other side of the road. The man then closes the curtains and begins to walk away, but turns on himself and takes another look through the closed curtains, and as Jimmy explained before, the child's now disappeared. The phone then rings, and on the other end of the phone, all it's heard is heavy breathing, so no one speaks. So that adds mystery to it as well, and it's quite scary. And he hears a large thud that comes from the living room.
Yeah, he walks into the living room and he sees like a toy in the middle of the room, and as he goes towards the toy, the camera pans down as he bends down to get the toy. And as he comes back up, you'll see him like mid-shot there, and then over the shoulder you'll see one of the children in the mask staring back at him on the stairs. As we said before, at no point does he actually see any of the children apart from the last scene. And we use this shot like from a bridge, it's like that. That looks like that. So we sort of like use that to base where the child will be sitting and everything. And you just glares down, and it just like looks really creepy as you look at it.
And after that shot, he starts to like walk up the stairs and like returns his toy into this bedroom. And as he turns round, there's a shot of where the camera is looking back into the room, but the man's like outside of the doorway, but also there's the child behind him as well, but he does not know like that he's there, and then he then enters like the room next door and opens the curtains and to see these two little children outside like staring at him while he's upstairs, and this freaks him out and then he starts to run downstairs.
When he's gone downstairs, obviously really scared, and he's aware that he's being followed, and he goes into his kitchen and he grabs his knife, obviously near his weapon, and then he goes into the next room, his living room, and he sits down just as he's waiting. It's like he's almost waiting for them to come, and he's obviously got this knife to protect himself. Then you get a shot of the clock saying 8 PM, but when we've edited it, it'll fade in, but out at 8 PM and then fade back in at 1 AM. The camera then will pan around to show him still sitting in the chair at 1 AM, and he's obviously asleep at this time. And for the last, the children will be sitting round him or standing either side of him or behind him, just looking at him. And as he's woken up, the last shot, his eyes are like opened just as he's going black. So obviously these children are still standing around him while he's woken up. Obviously very scared.
This is a collage of like the films which have like influenced the most. Like 28 Weeks Later, we studied that as one of our films on research, and The Grudge, and Scream, and Saw 6, and also Paranormal Activity is also like another film that's really influenced us due to like, as ours is quite paranormal as well. But we've adapted like some of the shots that they've done and things like that. But ours is like completely different to like these. Like, but we've like adapted it all together, and it's like a mixture of all the films together, which is going to be good for like the audience.
Okay, questions? It does sound like you've based it mainly on The Strangers, but how will you make it different so it's a bit more original, without sounding horrible? But.
No. For one thing, the children, we're using children, and okay, we've used masks, but that was our own idea to use the masks. Yeah. But we were influenced by like The Strangers and Scream and like other films that use masks, and Halloween as well. But we just thought that it'd be really good to like, use masks.
And also the other reason why it's different is because in Strangers there's a lot of blood, gore and killing. In our one there's nothing like that. There's barely any physical contact between like the children and the man. It's literally just it's more like
So it's more in
psychological
your
getting in
head.
his head.
Mm.
Yeah. Instead of like the general blood.
But that can sometimes be even scarier than just loads of gore in it as well.
For example, The Ring and The Grudge, they're both like that, both psychological horrors.
How are you going to get the children to act? Like, are they quite young, or what age are you looking at?
They range from different ages. There's I can't remember.
There's a 7-year-old, sorry, a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my parents will be in at the time, and they're gonna not discipline them, but like look after them while they're doing it, and they're not really doing much in the film. They're just more or less just standing in the same position, and I think that's fine. Like they're not really acting. They haven't got to say anything at all.
Oh, right, okay.
It's all virtually them standing still.
You know, at the end, are the kids do anything to the man, or is it just what he opens up and sees?
Basically, the last couple of shots are he's in the chair. It shows him asleep. It shows him asleep, and it shows his eyes closed, and it zooms out and it shows all 3 children around him. It then goes to a cut, and then it'll go back to the eyes closed, and then they'll suddenly open, and then that's it.
Oh,
So you don't see nothing. It's nothing.
It's basically like just closed in on him, but
Yeah, the
it
basically
leaves,
closed.
that, it leaves that sort of suspicion whether they are going to do anything, but we don't show that.
We don't show it yet.
Why are they doing it to him? Why is it happening to this person in particular?
I think
That's,
sorry.
that's again, that's sort of part of the mystery of it as well as in The Strangers. You never find out why they're doing it to them
Yeah,
either. That adds, that adds sort of a factor of horror, because if there was a reason, then obviously the viewer would understand more why it was happening. So, but you don't. There's not that in there. So
That's what
creates
makes
a
it
bit
a
of
lot more
mystery.
psychological as well. Creates a lot more psychological.
I think you need to not avoid the psychological aspect, but your brief is horror.
Yeah.
So, it has got to fall strictly within the horror genre. You
It
can
is
have
still
psychological aspects, but it is, it's a horror that you're providing.
Yeah, we
It's
understand
still
that.
I think it is still a horror though, just with psychological aspects.
yeah,
There's a lot of jumpy scenes and things like that within it as
we
well.
have thought about
Before it through very, very further.
It's more of a scary film, not a blood and gore film.
What happens after? If this is the opening 2 minutes, then what happens for the rest of the film? I know you've gone through your plot,
yeah.
but what's next?
These hauntings like carry on, and this man, well, because he has a family, this relationship between them breaks down because of how disturbed he is due to these activities, and in the end, worse comes to worse, and he kills his family due to this horrible paranormal activity that's happening, and but he's still left with this haunting of these children, which is really sad.
Yeah.